Do you know the show Shark Tank? Well, this is one of the most entertaining shows you can watch, especially if you're into business, money, and entrepreneurship. The concept of the show is simple. 5 investors listen to pitches from ordinary people who present their ideas or small businesses.
Mark, are you allergic to positive, negative ion stuff?
No, I'm allergic to scams.
But you design the other two.
Yep, I helped take a company called Roomba Time, and they have the exact same line. So you're lying.
For example, imagine I walk in and say, "Hello, I have this idea to sell a specific coffee drink under my brand called Grow Library. Here's how much I sell, my revenue, operating costs, and profits. So, are any of you 5 investors interested in partnering with me for a certain percentage?" One of the investors might like the idea and say, "Okay, I'll take a 50% stake in Grow Library and buy it from you for, say, 11 million. That's basically the story of the show, one of the most creative and entertaining programs. In Shark Tank, there's an investor named Daymond John, one of the biggest investors in the United States and one of the participants in the show. This person wrote a book titled The Power of Broke, which is our book today. In it, Daymond talks about how you can use the challenge of being broke as a powerful force to build wealth. His insights are real. I wasn't entirely sure about the idea at first, but after reading a simple explanation, I was convinced. He argues that being broke can be a powerful motivator for creating wealth, and this idea is supported by real-life examples. He shares stories of people who started from nothing and turned simple ideas into success. These stories might already resonate with you, but they truly provide motivation. That's what keeps me watching Shark Tank. So, grab a good cup of coffee, and let's dive into some of the stories from this fantastic book. And most importantly, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. A simple question: have you ever experienced this? Have you ever come across a product or a dish, let's say a dish you tried at a restaurant, that you really liked but found it a bit too expensive? Then, one day when you were a bit broke, you thought, why not make this dish at home for less? So you go out, buy the ingredients, and start making it at home. You make it once, twice, 3 times, and maybe you nail it perfectly on the first try. You end up loving your version more than the restaurant's, whether it's a dish, dessert, or even a coffee drink. For example, my favorite coffee is literally the one I make myself. I found this unique mix of 2 types of coffee beans that aren't usually combined, but I put them together, and the result is one of the best cups of coffee I drink every day. Trust me, I don't think there's any coffee in the world that matches the one I make at home. That's why I enjoy it so much, and it costs me very little. So, have you ever experienced something like this? If you have, let me tell you, this is the power of being broke. When you want something expensive but can't afford it, that lack of money drives you towards innovation and creativity. As the saying goes, necessity is the mother of invention. When you need something, that need can lead to an invention or discovery that might create a revolution in your life. And that's what being broke is all about. Daymond John says that 68% of entrepreneurs in the United States started from scratch. Imagine, 68%, more than 2/3. Additionally, 7% of them lived below the poverty line at some point. According to the Small Business Association in the US, 50% of small businesses started at home. So if you're looking for a real-life example of the statistics being quoted, here I am, a person running a small business that will grow over time, and maybe one day my name will be as big as John's, with a company worth $6 billion. Yes, the author of this book has a similar story. He started a clothing brand, not just from scratch, but from below zero, and today his company is valued at $6 billion. So, what's the secret behind these statistics? Businesses that start at home, 68% of entrepreneurs with a $30 million net worth or more, all starting from nothing? Is it hard work or luck? According to John, the author of the book, it's neither hard work nor luck. Instead, it's despair, misery, and unhappiness that drove these people to become millionaires. Then he started talking about an amazing concept that truly impressed me. He said, you know those people who initially make a name for themselves, come up with a new and innovative idea, start succeeding in life, their wealth increases, their social standing improves, and they become somewhat famous? Then their light fades, the buzz about them dies down, and that once brilliant person is no longer heard of as much. Or that amazing company, suddenly you don't hear about it like before. Why? It could be that they didn't market well, but often he says, "Aha! You see, the wealth they gained made them afraid of losing it. As a result, they became restrained. Instead of being the innovative, out-of-the-box thinkers they once were, always challenging the norm and bringing something new and different, they started playing it safe, going along with the crowd, no longer taking the risks they once did to avoid losing what they had gained. You see how even money can change your situation?" His words are really spot on. There are people who, once they reach a certain level of success, start trying to please everyone, the market, society, and that's it. They feel like they can't innovate anymore or create new, groundbreaking products or services that could really make a difference. Instead, they just follow what everyone else is doing, catering to what people already like, just to avoid losing their wealth. He shares an amazing quote: "Only when a person has nothing to lose do they gain the strength to get everything they want." Being broke pushed me to hustle, to try this and that, experiment here and there, and take on different jobs just to make some money. He says he got to a point where he came up with the idea of owning a bus to transport people for just $1. Public transportation charged $1.25, but with him, it was only $1. And the special feature he offered was that he would let you stop wherever you wanted before dropping you home. If you wanted to stop by a grocery store, he'd stop. If there was a shop along the way where you wanted to buy something, he'd stop there too. No problem. This service got people to ride with him, and he started making dollars here and there, but then he decided to quit this job because the Department of Transportation fined him. He didn't have a business license or a company, so he couldn't legally operate that service. So he quit and decided to start a clothing brand. At first, like anyone else, he bought pieces of clothing for himself and then thought, why not sell them to the people around me? He realized that many people liked his clothing because it was made with love or filled a gap in the market, a design that wasn't available, colors that weren't in the market, or a unique style. And indeed, from one t-shirt to 2 to 3, he started using the same bus he once drove to deliver orders. Sometimes, he would even drive around the neighborhoods, displaying the t-shirts, stopping to sell them from a food truck he had turned into a mobile store. Today, my dear friend, that brand is valued at $6 billion. Starting from scratch and driven by being broke, he says, I'll tell you a strange story that's very similar to mine. A 9-year-old boy came to us on Shark Tank. He said he was 9 years old, so we asked him, "What's your project?" He replied, "My project is selling neckties." We asked, "What's your story?" He said, "Well, I'm 9 years old, and I can't afford the neckties I see. They're too expensive for me. So I decided to start making them at home. I would set aside time every day to sew a tie for myself. Maybe I'd finish 2 ties a week and wear them to school because they were cheaper for me to make. As I started wearing these beautiful ties to school, my friends began asking me, 'Where did you get this? We want one like it.' I told them, 'I didn't buy it. I made it at home. If you want me to make you one, pay me and I'll do it.' Eventually, people started noticing these ties, saying they were very nice. A boy would buy a tie, go home, and his father would see it and like it. He'd ask, 'Where did you get this?' The boy would reply, 'From my 9-year-old friend who sews them at home, handmade and for a good price.' So, I made one for the father, and then for his older brother, and the word started spreading. It went from kids aged 9 to 14, to 20, to 25, to 30 and above. My name started getting known in Memphis and across the United States. Our sales increased so much that my mom had to hire 2 people to help with the sewing. See how the money started working for him? Instead of just selling in Memphis, they started selling across the entire United States, and in almost 3 years, they made about $250,000. So, whether this boy is a successful entrepreneur himself, or if someone around him, his mom or dad, has a smart investor's mindset, They could develop this business into a huge brand in the future. Take, for example, Phil Knight, the founder of Nike. In 1964, he bought a dozen pairs of shoes from Japan and sold them in the US out of the trunk of his car. And today, where is Nike? Its story is absolutely fascinating. The same goes for the founders of Google and Apple and many other companies. My dear friend, many companies started from nothing but lack of money. To turn this lack of money into wealth, you need to focus on 3 key points. First, you need to understand the resources available to you. What capabilities do you have at your disposal? The second point is that you need to fill a gap in the market. You need to find something that no one else is covering and cover it yourself. Or, at the very least, do the same thing others are doing, but in a much better way. For example, if I make a burger, it has to be significantly better, tastier, and of higher quality than yours, using the resources I have. The third point is deprivation, living in an area where you lack something that you want. There are likely many others who are deprived of this same thing and want it. If you can provide it at a lower price and with better quality to the people around you, it opens the door to ideas, creativity, and wealth. Focus on deprivation, like the boy who wanted a necktie but couldn't afford one. That deprivation led to the creation of wealth. There are many things we need but are deprived of, and we just haven't found someone to provide them for us. The moment you do, people will pay you for it. In conclusion, the essence of the power of being broke lies in the money you want, not the money you already have. As Mark Manson says in his book, The Subtle Art of Not Giving a F, suffering is the driver of improvement. If you like this dose of inspiration, give it a like, share it with those you love, and subscribe to the channel. Thank you for listening, and thank you always for your priceless time. Wish you a happy day.